We almost got into
Mhm.
talking for the episode and realized, oh, we should start recording
We're not
before
recording.
the.
This is the thing with us. So just starting out, it's greetings, friends. Welcome to season 2025. Here, I have to change it. Aha.
Yeah.
Season 2025, free range thinking. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And we're here again in our cozy recording caves, ready to dive into some interesting topics and rabbit holes. And we've got teaser news. I think we mentioned it last time. And we can give you a tiny bit more information. Aha. We've got fun things coming. So I'm Sharon Lee.
And I'm Alex Carr. And as always, as since 3 years now, we are no
Wow.
our fourth year of recording.
We're
We
going to have our
deliver.
anniversary party soon, huh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We deliver a delicious buffet of neurodivergent topics, discussions,
Mhm.
questions, and explorations around the subject of living as a neurodivergent human. And we love exploring and celebrating how people like us can not only thrive in today's world but prosper, because the world desperately needs neurodivergent humans to bring real transformation and evolution to mankind. Because we are the keys through the shitstorm of a one-size-fits-all world, and that is no joke.
No joke, my friends. Here we are
Yes.
again. When is our anniversary, by the way?
I think it was, or it is 12th of January. I
12th of
think,
January.
I think the first episode, I have to look it up again.
Okay. So we should I should say next week, we should have a little anniversary party.
Whoop whoop.
Woot woot. Honk honk. So we will arrive for the recording with like a celebratory pastry or something.
Oh,
A
and
little bit.
I'm still nervous. On Saturday, we do the rescheduled birthday party for our daughter.
Ah,
I thought I would be more relaxed now since I had 3, 4 weeks more time to plan and think about stuff. But I realize every time I look at my games and activities that you can do something more here, and here's a hole in a story, or here's something missing, and you have to think about something else, and you have to it almost always ends in I have to buy other stuff, like to DIY magic wands or whatever.
mm-hmm,
So it's still a stressful week. First week of working again.
mm-hmm.
The party on Saturday. I have to travel to Berlin on Friday, so the whole day before the birthday party is completely gone because I am going to arrive at
Okay.
9ish or so again in Bielefeld. So I have to manage everything between today and Thursday. Wednesday, we have our big family dentist appointment where we go to our dentist, like all three of us. So half of the day is gone as well. It's the year starts off. It's yeah.
Pretty frantic.
I thought like I planned it out so that the whole year is going to start really smooth and really relaxed. Maybe I should take a look at the calendar next time. I think that, or before I think
Take a
that.
look at the calendar.
Yeah.
Why would we do that?
I think we talked about this off the record last week, or that you use too often too many like paper things and different, or you have to be really disciplined to use always the same paper documents. At the moment, I'm trying out too many digital tools so that I often don't know where I have written down something.
I have
I mean,
both.
I
And
can
it's
use the
like, okay,
search.
did I do it digitally? Where
Yeah.
is it? Is it digitally or is it in a notebook? And then it's like, which fucking notebook?
Mm.
You know? Which file digitally, which notebook? It's always a but it's funny because like things in my house and like all my other stuff is hyper organized. Notes, not so much. It's like it's in my house. You would, and the way that I live, if you were watching me, um, you would not assume that I was ADHD because I'm very tidy
Hmm.
and I'm very organized, like hyper organized. But if I can't deviate, because if I deviate, then I'm screwed. So I guess it's a survival mechanism from even being a kid. But note taking, oh my God, all my notes are classic, ADHD. It's I don't know where anything is at any given moment. And how I organize this stuff is it just feels so, it's like the hyper attentiveness that it takes to do what I do is just it's tiring. That's where you really see it, but people don't see it because it's invisible.
Yeah.
So what were you saying? You have the notes.
I used to, yeah, at the moment I'm trying out different to-do list apps and different solutions for note-taking again. And often forget to put things together somewhere afterwards. So I'm constantly like, where did you write that down? Is it in a calendar? Is it in this to-do list app or is it in that to-do list app? And then I'm trying out two different read later solutions because the one that I just got used to was sold. The whole company was sold,
Don't you
and
hate that?
they are just completely ending the product. They are not just making it like a premium version or so. They just hired the team, and the team is working on something else now. And so the whole app was like, by the way, the company is sold, the app is going to be deleted, and you have 14 days to download all
Get
of
all your
your.
shit.
And I had just 6 months earlier or so, I just imported all my bookmarks and read later, which were like 6,000 or so,
Oh my
from
God.
the last 10 years into that. And then I had to figure out how to get it out of that. And
What platform is that, by the way?
that was Omnivore. It was
Omnivore.
Omnivore that
Mm-hmm.
was closed. Now I went back to Get Pocket, which always was together with Instapaper,
Mm-hmm.
and Pocket, formerly called Read It Later. Those were the two apps that are around for like 10 years or so. Um, and I found another solution that's GoodLinks. And I can't yet really decide. I think I'm going to use GoodLinks because it saves all your stuff right away in your iCloud. So in Read It Later or Pocket
Mm-hmm.
in the Pocket app, you have to pay €5 or €6 per month to make highlights in the app and to save your articles. So if the website deletes them, maybe they are still in your archive. And GoodLinks, it's a one-time payment of €10. It downloads all the things in your iCloud, so it's in my own space, and it lets me export the whole article, and it lets me export just my highlights and notes that I make in an article. So I think I'm going to switch to that. Yeah, but first I have to figure out what I do with those 6 months in between. If I just forget it, or if I go through that in some way in the backup, which is almost unusable. So I'm not really
Yeah.
sure what I'm going to do about that yet.
I feel for you. I feel for you. And I could take this moment to mention, it's like part of the little teaser is that I think we mentioned this before, that we are launching a newsletter, and part of like one section of it every time the newsletter comes out is things that Alex and I are using and experimenting with, some stuff that we're trial running, um, because it's for people with ADHD. It how do we know? How do we know what works for us?
Mm.
And I really struggle with this, and I can't find a lot of things that work for me. And so I kind of have a mishmash of what does and what doesn't. So I'll do certain things here, but finding one platform that works for me, it just doesn't exist. It
Yeah.
just doesn't exist.
I mean, for me,
Yeah.
the looking for platforms or trying out new apps is kind of a hobby, or is kind
Yeah.
of I just like it. It's interesting, and I like trying out things. Just today, on Saturday, the first like split keyboard arrived, and today the second split keyboard arrived. I think I told you about that.
Mm-hmm.
They are uh ridiculously is expensive. They're around $600 to $700
Oh,
per key
gosh.
just for a keyboard. But on the other hand, I thought, okay, it's the main tool I use to work with a computer. It's the one I don't think, and I got them as test units, so I only have to pay for them if I really want to keep them. That's the bonus, but I'm pretty sure
Nice.
that I'm going to keep one of them. Because I already started using the first one, my favorite one, that try to get, and it is the Glove 80 from MoErgo. It's a New Zealand company, like a Kickstarter company,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like it's like a keyboard that is broken in two parts, in half. There you have one keyboard for the left hand, one keyboard for the right hand. So, and it's yeah, it's a round shape. So that's called why it's called a glove. It fits like a glove. Your hand is going in there like you put your hand in a bowl,
Mm-hmm.
which is really relaxing. And you can sit on the sofa, put one side of the keyboard left and one side of the keyboard right. And I'm training to touch type on those. I can do a little bit of touch typing when I'm really concentrated and when I really focus on it. And when I just type free winging in German, I managed to get like 60 to 80 words per minute, which is okay-ish. It should be faster for somebody who is typing since 40 years or so, but I never really trained
Meh.
in it. Uh, but it's so, I mean, yesterday I just did training exercises on it. Like you press like F F F J J J D D D D F J K, and
Mm-hmm.
so that you get muscle memory where the keys are, which is
Mm-hmm.
totally fun, totally relaxing for me. It's like playing the piano just without the noise. And I realized that I didn't reach at least 20 words per minute. It was like always 9, 12. I think the highest was 18 words per minute. And then I read some Reddit postings about people who were on a normal keyboard, who were around 100 words per
Mm-hmm.
minute on a normal QWERTY keyboard. And they were like, the first week was hell. I didn't manage to go beyond like 3 or 4 words, and then I was okay. You're not that bad, so it seems to be normal to switch to such a completely different concept. But it's fun. It's
Right.
right now it's really relaxing for me, and I hoped that I get to use it in a way that I really use it day by day, because I don't think to get fast on it, but more relaxed and different positions that I can use them standing and with the walking desk and all that. That would be really nice.
Cool. Cool, cool. So it sounds like it's the beginning of a love affair.
Mm, we'll see.
We see, we see. And did we have anything in downhill parking?
I think so.
Or launching into other things.
Yeah, we parked. I wanted to share how hard it is to get an ADHD um diagnosis.
Ah, well, if it's in Germany, if it's anything like getting an autism diagnosis, uh, I feel for you. Yeah,
I mean, it's not. It starts with that you need to wait for at least 6 months to get an appointment,
that's crazy.
which is like, are you aware that one of the things somebody with ADHD can't do is waiting for something? Because then I go like, fuck it, I'm not going to do it because why?
Maybe it's the first part of the test.
Maybe, yeah. And my girlfriend, she's working now at the doctor's office, which is a neurologist, psychiatrist, psychotherapy, whatever. They have like 16 or 17 doctors and therapists there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only one person who can make the ADHD test, who has like the license to do it, but
Yeah.
she's only there for 4 or 6 hours a week. So she was like, I can write him prescriptions when he has the diagnosis, but I can't do the diagnosis because like the whole diagnosing process and the tests are like for 4 or 6 hours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so my strategy is I know from two people who got diagnoses in Bielefeld recently. I got the contacts from them and I'm going to ask them. But still, when I pay the diagno or the uh the conversations
Yeah.
are paid by the health insurance, I guess. But then the test is not. It's probably the insurance is not going to pay, so it's going to cost me between 400 and 800 euros, I guess.
That's crazy.
Uh,
Yeah,
and
because when I was in Germany, everything I did was out of pocket. Not it was off the insurance because I just didn't really recognize it at that point.
yeah,
So it's
but
like
what they
why have it in my insurance file for them to use it against me in
Mm,
some manner
mm,
when I get zero benefit. So we decided it's like nah, off the books.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing is that one, it's not, you don't 100% need to have it, but often they ask for your elementary school uh, graduation
Records. The
records
records. Mm-hmm.
and not the notes, the grades
Mm-hmm.
and annotations from your teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad is already looking and says, I can find those anymore. I have no idea where they could be. I haven't searched everything yet. I had an idea yesterday where I can look here at home, but I'm pretty sure that I don't have them. So that is going to make it even harder because there are some people or some therapists who say when you don't have your elementary school grades, then it's they are pretty confident if you haven't been ADHD as a child, you can't get ADHD when as a grown up as an
You
adult.
don't get it, but oh,
Yeah.
that is so frustrating.
Yeah, but you
It's
need
like that you can
and
mask.
it's like
Mm, 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 mm.
if somebody has ADHD, how do you expect those people to be organized enough to find their fucking 40-year-old elementary school documents anyway? I mean, it's probably that I've thrown it that I've thrown them away someday and thought like,
It's
what should
maddening.
I need those for?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
And
that is
average people don't save stuff like that. And the thing is with
Germans do. I think you have never been in a German attic or cellar.
well,
They do.
actually I have.
Okay.
And so yes, I do know what you're talking about, which is does make it funny. Yeah, so
On the weekend, I spoke with a friend of mine, and his wife just got diagnosed, and she got the impulse to be diagnosed through they had to clean out a house of her uncle, which was really, really messy and full
Mhm.
of stuff. And then she was wondering, like, okay, where does this come from? And do I have a problem with that maybe as well? And they were talking about this when they were driving home from this house, from this cleaning out. And he was like, you are really asking that question? And she was like, why? And he was like, okay, let's don't start with you. Let's start with your family. You have at least, I know, just 5 members of your family, and
Mhm.
4 of them clearly have ADHD and clearly have an organization and messy problem. And his example that he gave was her dad has like a hobby room in the basement, which is from top to bottom with cupboards and closets, um with drawers 1.2 meters deep where he can store stuff.
Oh, wow.
And he says, like, if your dad wouldn't have this massive room with this massive closets with this massive shelves in there, what do you think the house would look like? Have you ever looked in those drawers? I have, he said, and it's like totally fucking chaos. And so she was like, huh, okay, hmm. And then, and what was interesting was that he said, okay, and then after she got the diagnosis, there was a phase of like the demasking phase, where
Right.
where everything they got in an argument about also was like, yeah, I can do anything about it. I'm ADHD, no, no, no. And
Mhm.
he's like, it's not the excuse for everything. You can't
Mhm.
always hold up your diagnosis and say, oh, you have to deal with that. He says you still have to work on yourself. And
Exactly. It's not a reason to inflict it on other people or
mm,
inflict it. Uh it's but there's also a thing of if it depends on how, hold on a second. There's always accommodation, and so if the burden of accommodation consistently falls on the person
mm,
who's neurodivergent, there's kind of an unfairness quotient in it. At the same time, I mean, it's difficult in families because you don't really have a choice in a family, but in a living situation and and or a working situation, there's agreements.
mm,
And if somebody says, presents themselves as capable of doing something, and then they don't, um, uh, meet the promises,
mm,
then you've got a problem.
mm,
Whereas if they know up, ahead of time, and then one side of the equation changes the agreement but doesn't talk to the other side, that's where the unfairness comes in.
mm,
Yeah, and it's like, okay, we have to have a discussion and reassess the partnership or whatever the working situation, because this was the original agreement. We can revisit the original agreement, and say, you know what, when I started, I thought this was going to be okay. For example, somebody could come in and say, okay, I have sensory issues, but I will be okay working in this office. come to find out, because when you visit like once or twice, it's hard to tell what it's like all the time. And say, for example, you accept a working contract, then it becomes apparent that there's like somebody, 4 desks away who's consistently wears really strong perfume or cologne. And it becomes unbearable. But because you came in for the, maybe a trial or something, maybe it didn't seem that much. Plus, it's like when we're excited and things are new, we tend to not notice because we're focused on other things because everything is new and exciting. But then when things slow down and become, I don't want to say monotonous or mundane, but it becomes, just slower. And then the other things start to become more apparent. And then it's like, oh shit, what have I gotten myself into? And for average people, the average human, it's like you can kind of just deal with it. But somebody who has a sensitivity issue, that becomes a problem. And so it's very difficult. So then you have to go, okay, and then imagine you're new, because you're new at the job, you don't want to be super needy and you don't want to be a problem because they already know about your neurodivergence. And so it's like, you don't want to go in and go, yeah, this, it sounds like you're being a problem. And so nobody wants to do that. And so and again, women tend to speak up about stuff like that less than men. So there's a lot of women suffering in the workforce because of things like that. I mean, men as well, but it's more so on the women's side.
I just when you were talking about that, I had like the story in my head that you could say, okay, we could do an assessment like every 4 weeks or 8 weeks. We ask, okay, is there anything?
Is there an issue coming up that you're noticing?
Like anonymously, should be something altered or should be something changed in the office or in the way we work together. And I thought, okay, then you could like write. I would prefer if we all could agree on not wearing really strong perfume, deo, whatever in the office. And then everybody would think, oh, it must be the new one.
Right.
Who wrote that? So that could lead to, and that was what I found funny.
Yeah,
For me, it would lead to, I would wait until someone new would be starting. And if somebody new is starting, then I would write.
Right. That would be the strategy.
I would like, then my strategy maybe would like wait and bear through it until there's an opportunity to be like, okay, it's not Alex, but somebody else.
So you're pushing it off on somebody else.
Maybe it could be. It depends. I mean, it depends on how open the group. I wouldn't say the company, but the group or the team is.
But it is the company in terms of the company ambiance. And it's like the fact that you don't feel comfortable coming out and saying it has everything to do with the company ambiance and the fact that you would think that way at all. And for example, maybe coming in with the onboarding, of all people, not again, everything that could be done for neurodivergent people will absolutely benefit everybody else and should already be in practice. For example, with the onboarding, onboarding systems, they're asking, okay, we know that not everything is going to be apparent. So let's check in frequently in, say, the first 3 months as things arise and say, okay, how comfortable are you with this? How is there anything that makes it difficult for you to work? How can we best support you? Is there something that stands out? But that's for everybody. Everybody should have that. I'm gonna say luxury. It should be it shouldn't be a luxury, it should be standardized. And
How would you ask that? The
just
first
like
thing,
that. Just like that.
no,
Say they're coming in.
The first thing that goes through my mind is if somebody would ask me that in a conversation, it's probably that I wouldn't say anything because I couldn't think of anything.
Maybe not the first time, but if they did it frequently and said, hey, okay, think about it. Think about it. Is this comfortable for you? Is the position of your desk, because you can give examples, is the direction your desk is facing, is there something, is there air blowing on you? Is there something that makes it very difficult for you to focus on your tasks just in the environment itself? Is there something in a communication, because there's different sections. There's a physical thing. There's the communication thing. There's the something about the ambiance.
I think what would be that is the groundwork. That is like the scaffolding or the framework that you need. And then it should be people showing you how to use it, and people that are there for a longer time actively changing things and doing things about that. And let's say changing their desk in another direction and say, hey, I'm going to change my desk over here because I can work, and so that you see, oh, I can do that. People do that, and I can do it too. For one example, in one your fix daily weekly appointment where we are with 15, 14 people. One woman, for example, she always tells us, or somebody asks her, or she tells by herself since years what her pulse is in the meeting, because after 8, 9, 10 years, she is still really afraid of those situations, even if it's just on the phone, only in a voice call without cameras or without being in the same room. She says it's really hard for me to speak in front of you all, so my pulse is 120 today, and sometimes it's like 96 or so, and but she almost does it every week.
That's brilliant.
That's really brilliant. Yeah,
that's awesome.
That was the first thing. And I mean, topics like ADHD, for example, are really often a thing to talk about it. And to show, what it is, something about it, you are dealing with it in some kind of way. I mean, a lot of people are dealing with it through their kids because the kids got a diagnosis, and then through that it came up that when 2 of your 3 kids have an ADHD diagnosis, maybe you should go and get diagnosed yourself.
Exactly. But that's, I think it's more and more like this, the awareness of it, of what people need. And there's, but a lot of companies fear the thing of like, yeah, but then I'm going to change everything for everybody. There's no longer one size fits all. And they think of it as a burden, when in fact, it's going to help their bottom line if their workers are at least on a ambiance level somewhat supported, whenever it's possible.
No,
Because sometimes you can't change the desk configurations. It's like, okay, don't talk about what you can't do. Let's talk about what we can do. Is there some, two people switching desks? Is that, what is it? What is something that can be done?
I
Even
I
in a
re- I,
minimal
re-
way, because people feel cared for. And
I
sometimes
remember
that's enough.
I remember in another agency when they switched from one building to the other. At first they had larger offices with like six to eight people in it. But then they switched to really open floor office with 20 or 30 people in that, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And realized after the whole switch was done, the whole moving process was 6 months or so. And when the whole moving buildings was finished, then they started to realize, okay, it was okay when only 10 to 15 people were sitting here, but now that all 30 or 40 people are sitting here, it's really loud and nobody can concentrate and everybody's annoyed. We have to do something about it. And then they started to put stuff on the ceiling and they couldn't put that much on the walls because most of the walls were windows. So it was quite loud already, and the 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 bosses thought like a concrete floor would look really cool, and it does look really cool, but you don't think about acoustics up front, then you just build a fucking echo chamber,
Exactly.
a large echo chamber. And in one meeting, one of the C levels said, fuck, yesterday I bought a dishwasher. I bought a new washing machine. Tomorrow I bring the cardboard box with me and cut a hole in it and put it on my desk so that I have. And I was like, "Are you?" And he was like, "No, it was a joke. Okay, can I have it then?" And he was like, "Really?" And said, "I would like to try it if it makes any difference." And it did. It
Oh, I'm
looked
sure it did.
it looked really shitty. But I mean, cubicles in the US are there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
They are
Mm-hmm.
shitty for other reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But at least you can concentrate in
Yeah.
those cubicle boxes.
Yeah.
They have something positive on it, and
Mhm.
getting completely away from cubicles is again a one size fits all solution on the other extreme.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
the company was really cool. They thought like, okay, we need something where people like find quiet places. So, for example, they bought. Do you know these wooden saunas?
Yes. Hmm.
This like round saunas where you can go
Yeah. They
in
have them
with.
in the library that I was in. Oh, I saw them in the live. Also, things like that in the library in Amsterdam.
Yeah, so they bought one of those saunas, for example, and
Hmm.
put those. I mean, after the sauna was in there, they realized, okay, with one or two people, it's okay. When eight people are sitting in here, it's a fucking sauna. Of course, it gets hot. So over the weekend, some of the IT people like screwed ventilation in there, like they
Hmm.
cut out some of the vents from servers and PCs, or took some that were laying around, and then they built a really clever ventilation system for it, which was fun. Um, or they on the other side, they said, okay, socializing is quite hard for most people here, so to make it easier for them and not make them go like get a after work beer or so. And that was one of my favorite examples, for people are still conscious and take responsibility in a company. They had a fridge on each floor. They had a fridge full of beer.
Hmm. Only in Germany.
normally you would say only in Bavaria.
Yeah.
But in like northern Germany, it's not really common. And I know that in Bavaria, for a long time, it was totally common to have those and to drink during working times
Yeah.
because Bavarians, for Bavarians, or they say, beer
Beer is a meal.
is a is a meal or it's like groceries. You can have beer at any time. And there it was like, okay, you can have a beer after work. So everybody was responsible about that. But it made a lot of things a lot easier, especially for new people who started there. So, and because it's a software company, there were a lot of introvert people that had like problems, or it was hard for them at first to get in touch with the people in the company. So they were really thoughtful about that, and yeah, I had put a lot of
Effort into it.
effort and money into it to find solutions. I remember it was 2011 or 2012 or 2013. They had one of the first feel good managers in the company, and her role was only to care about how the people feel. And
That is so important. That's such a phenomenal role and critical. It should be in all companies.
she was after that. I mean, she isn't there anymore, and after 2 or 3 years, she was really critical, especially about the title. I mean, we had the Tagesschau in the company. So that the biggest news outlet in Germany was in the company on 1st of May, or for the episode on 1st of May, which is Labor Day in Germany, to document like how work can be thought in a new way. And I think already in that piece, she said like, yeah, the name is critical. As soon as you are called feel good manager, a lot of people mistake it for nannying and mommying
Yes.
people.
Yes.
And
For a woman, that is can be problematic.
and I mean, on the other hand, there were a lot of discussions about there were people that were working on the desk, for example. And one of their tasks was cleaning up after the people who had a meeting, for example, and keeping the kitchens tidy, keeping the meeting rooms tidy. And sometimes those people were complaining that the other colleagues, yeah, left the room and didn't clean up. And I was like, yeah, but that's what you are here for. That is in your job description.
Right.
And
It's like being like the bar back at a club. But the thing though is that there's because we have that in this house, that it's like the cleaning thing. The kitchen is everybody's responsibility, but the deep cleaning things in the other parts of the house, for example, the dusting and keeping things straightened and organized, that's my thing in the downstairs. But there's sometimes when I have to get after the roommates because I'm like, come on, you guys. What I do is supposed to be like extra and like make it look extra good and keep it extra clean. But it's like if one particular person, I'm not naming any names, is kind of inattentive and is on the spectrum of being inattentive. And like you could tell where she's been because of like the line of the drips of coffee on the floor.
Okay.
And when you have to tell somebody 5, 6, 7 times, it's like, hey, man,
Yeah.
then that it gets out of balance. Even
Yeah.
though it's my job to keep things neat and tidy, it's it feels like you're being taken advantage of when people don't even care. It seems like
Especially
they don't care.
especially in a living together situation.
But it's
I
also in offices. If it's in that certain thing, it's like people like get up, like for example, you get up from the table and you just like leave all your stuff and you leave like spills on the table. Now come on, wipe up the spills with at least wipe up the spills with a napkin or a tissue and ball that up and put it in the coffee cup. Do you know what I mean?
or
You don't have to
or
leave it like you don't have to
or
like
at
leave it
least
like a dog.
yeah, or
It's
at least communicate. And I
right,
mean, I
right,
had
right,
I had
right.
the situation as well that I had to switch between like the one meeting went overtime. I had to go in the next meeting, so I went to the next meeting and sent the persons at the desk like, so sorry, I hadn't the time to wipe it up because I had to switch meetings so fast. Could you do it for me and I make up for it or something like that?
Right, 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 right.
I I I I
But
I
that's considerate.
yeah, I mean I saw one situation where one of the CEOs was an asshole and was the sales guy. So he was a really old school sales guy, including the yeah we say I forgot how we call it in German. It's like the colonizer humor. Like when you called me in this one episode where you called me like
Yes.
I'm thinking like a colonizer, and he had like the something like the landlord or colonizer style humor. And
Oof.
one day he just put his coffee mug, put it in the kitchen, and ran back into his office. And one from the counter from the desk was like, "Now I have to clean up after him again." And I was like, "Yeah, it's an asshole move, but also it is in your job description." And when you have to talk about it with him, or I can like give him a hint if you don't want to do it, but it is in your job description, and it's not what some people um don't see then or misinterpret is he is 4, 5, 6 times more expensive for the company than you.
Mm,
That does not mean he he as a person has more value, but still he costs the company more money than you, and you are here. You are paid for cleaning up when he thinks it's your job. Either way, you have to tell him that you think it's not
mhm.
your job, or you think of it like, okay, you
Or you
are
could take you're
paid
taking
for.
advantage of it. It's to keep things tidy, but not be the maid. And I think the fault
Yeah.
in a situation like that is outlining the duties clearly from the outset and at the
Yeah.
onboarding.
Yeah.
This is vital. It can't, and when I coach in companies to about laying down the norms, um, it's important, to get that
The
stuff straight because it's the
the
unspoken stuff. Is that yeah? Well, they should know that. It's like, oh, okay,
the
that one needs to be,
if you
you know.
say it that way, I think the problem in this particular situation was that the role of the desk person changed so much in between to get more responsibilities and do other things that the role wasn't that clear anymore, or the role should have been rediscussed, or the solution later on was that there was that they hired a second person.
Mm-hmm. But it's that thing of, it's like what my mom always taught us in our family is that norms and boundaries should be revisited regularly. And in
Yes.
our family, it was like twice a year,
Yeah.
and you could read just, you bring it up and go, hey, I don't like that, I don't want to do this anymore, or I need this, but feeling like it's flexible. Because when you feel like it's inflexible, this is where things get difficult. It's like if you have faith and that you will be listened to, and that it's like, okay, you can kind of hang on until the next meeting, the next norms and boundaries meeting. You're like, okay, I'll put up with this until then, and then put it on the table,
And still,
because it's created to listen and hear and adjust and compensate.
and still you have to show, especially if that I mean that was almost the largest gap, the largest power gap
Mm-hmm.
in the company that I could talk about. I mean the only largest, they always said there is no hierarchy and everybody's
Yeah,
on the same
bullshit,
level, but it's
especially in
still
Germany.
it's yeah, they
Yeah.
got better at it.
Mhm.
But especially that guy,
Mhm.
he was just like, yeah, Papier ist geduldig. Like, yeah, I don't care what's written somewhere.
Yeah.
He just lived it another way. So at one point, uh, the other two bosses kicked him out and showed, we don't want to work anymore with you. Here's your money.
Good.
We buy you out of the company, but please
Wow.
leave, to show the other 100 people that is not
That's unusual.
that behavior is not okay. And so that was a really, really powerful sign to show you don't have to accept things like that. And for me, it was like life changing to see
Yeah.
there are people that take responsibility. You don't have to, I mean, the only normally the only sign of hope or the only way to get rid of somebody on that power level is either to leave the job or to find something you can really accuse him about.
Right. Right.
Normally, that's all. And they found a quite clean solution. Of course, the guy wasn't that keen about that, and he wasn't that happy about it at the moment. Yeah, but the way the whole company emerged to and yeah, developed to, mm, wouldn't have been that um fitting for him anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was the best solution for both.
Exactly. No, it sounds like a really interesting company dynamic. And the two
Mm.
other guys, that's really cool to be like, no, the company isn't worth, even if the guy is really smart and he does a lot, it's not worth it
Yeah,
to have somebody in there that's sabotaging the ambiance.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Not very many people, or not enough people, are strong enough to do that.
yeah.
What a great story.
Yeah, it's one of the, yeah, really, really powerful moment when I think about it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Cool. Well, listen, we're kind of up against time here. So,
Yeah,
is there anything we want to we for the next week when we have our anniversary party? Is there anything in particular you want to talk about, or something that we can put on the table, or we wait and let it be a surprise? What do you think?
I still have this thing, or this topic of being too much with ADHD. That's something I would like to touch on maybe. And of
What do you
course,
mean?
I tell you then next week.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Otherwise, we are
We'll get
going to
into it and we go for another hour.
talk for another hour. And it's the last day of vacation here
Yeah.
in North Rhine-Westphalia. There are some parts of Germany, Berlin, for example, and Brandenburg. They only had vacation until first of the year, and we have like until the 7th.
Wow.
And it's today was the first day that I realized, oh, the Christmas vacation isn't one size fits all
Mm-mm.
for all the states in Germany. They differ as well. That was new for me.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, because usually it's, I mean, it's so different from the American holidays. It's like you guys, everybody in Europe gets so much more time.
And how long is a summer vacation in US?
2 months.
That's at least 2 to 3 weeks more than in Germany, for example. So they get
Yeah.
a lot of summer vacation.
Yeah, you
We
get a
we
lot of summer
we
vacation.
have more. We have like 2 weeks around Christmas, 2 weeks around Easter, sometimes a week around this other Pfingsten, this other 60
I
days
mean,
after
they're
Easter.
kind of
So
like in Europe, they're kind of like religion based
yeah, we have like
Mhm.
1 to 2 weeks in autumn. Those
Mhm.
are all those vacations. And then we have a lot of days. Often it's on Thursday. So you
Mhm.
have like the Thursday off, and then most people plan their vacation days. Yeah, and most people in Germany have 30 days of vacation.
Mhm. Yeah, that's
In their
that doesn't happen very often in the US.
So
It's rare.
so you have I heard an interview about somebody in the US lately about like and she had like 20 days or so, and that was like a lot.
Mhm. Mhm.
I think normally it's like 10 or 14 days, right? For
Yeah,
most
and when you
people.
first start working, I mean, there's national holidays, right? Which is, there's not that many of them. But then it's like, then you start accruing days off because you're working there. And it's just like, my God, you got to work so much to get like, and they go by like you work so many days and you get a half day off.
Mm,
So they don't even give you a whole day. Usually it
no,
goes by half days. It is just,
yeah,
it's crazy. But the workaholic mentality is off the charts. Yeah. And the burnout but I mean, there's burnout in kind of but when you hear for Americans listening to the Europeans whine about burnout and how they need a vacation, it's just like, oh, knock it off. You've got healthcare and vacation time. It's like, please, you know it's just, yeah, it's hard to listen to sometimes. It's just like, you guys have no idea how lucky you are. And
yeah, that's
I
really,
did.
really privileged. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and again, it shouldn't be a privilege, it should be a right. And but that's, the worker thing. They're still trying to crank everybody into the box with the industrialized model, and making them feel lucky that they have a job at least. And
Mm,
so, yeah, it sounds so threatening and intimidating,
mm,
um, and competitive in the United States, which is super stressful. Um, yeah, in this era, it's even worse. So let's end on that happy note.
that is a high note.
No, but it's the thing of like, yeah, yeah. I am glad I'm here. Although for as an entrepreneur, it's like every day's a day off, and no days are days off. So it's good news, bad news. You're your own boss again. You're the employee, like that thing I did on LinkedIn for employee of the month.
Yeah,
Me every month.
yeah, that's so cool.
Me again every month.
Yeah.
Yay, I won. So I'm happy that everybody joined us. And again, welcome to 2025. And thanks for joining us. Yeah. And remember that each and every one of you is a vital, precious key through the shitstorm of a one-size-fits-all world. So go out there and experiment playfully. Ha ha.
Ha ha. As we do.
As we do.
Every week. Alrighty. Bye-bye.
Bye.